is because the first words of this surah are alif, lam, mim. These are 3 letters. They're letters. And the only person who anybody who knows letters, the only reason they would know letters is because they're learning to read. There's no other reason you should know letters. You know, there are people that are uneducated. They never received any education in English. They speak English, but they never went to school. You tell them A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. These words make no sense to them. These letters have no value to them. What does that even mean? What do you mean W? What is that? I have never heard this word before. Because the only time you worry about letters is when you worry about spelling. And the only time you worry about spelling is if you're going to read or you're going to write. Yes? And that's something the Prophet ﷺ has no access to. So when he recites alif, lam, mim, it already sends shockwaves in that community. Wait, who taught him letters? I thought he's ummi. If he's saying alif, lam, mim, it must mean he has a teacher. Because he can't learn those on his own. If he doesn't know, he should just be saying alam. Alam tara kayfa fa'ala rabbuka bi ashabil fil. You know? That's what he should be saying. But the fact that he's saying alif, lam, mim, necessarily means he has a teacher. So now even the people that are listening to him are saying, who's his teacher? And what are they teaching him? I mean, and why would they teach him these letters? So it created that question in the mind of the audience. And that's very, very important. Because the question will be answered that the teacher is Allah. He's the one who's taught him. Right? And the idea that he is actually receiving an education. Because otherwise there's no way he would even know what letters signify anyway. The second thing you should know about alif, lam, mim is its unprecedented usage. This is very important. As we go through the dars today, this will become clearer and clearer, inshaAllah ta'ala. That the Quran said things in a way that had never been used before. Nobody talked like this. The Arabs were very proud of their language. They used to think of everybody else as ajam, basically incapable of proper speech, retarded even, which is a politically incorrect term nowadays. They thought everybody is less because they don't know al-Arabiya, and they're the ones that are, that mastered the language. And yet the Quran, from the kinds of verbs that it used, to the kinds of letters that it used, to the kinds of sentences that it used, it said things in a way that had never been heard before. Nobody ever talks like this, not even close. Even when a new poet comes and makes some amazing poetry, it is still based on 80% the previous poetry. Those of you that don't appreciate poetry, the younger audience here, maybe they're into hip-hop, maybe they're into R&B, maybe they're into some kind of music or another. You'll notice that beats or rhymes, they're not entirely creative. There's elements of it that is from previously existing music. They take the ingredients that are already there and then build on it something new. But it's not entirely new. It's like maybe 10% new, 20% new. Majority of it is actually something somebody had already done. You see? So when the Quran says something like alif, lam, mim even, this is unheard of. Why would someone speak like this? It would not only create the question, it would actually create a curiosity. This teacher, whoever his teacher is, nobody's ever learned from this teacher around here. Nobody's ever gotten that kind of education before. So the mind is already being prepared to accept the revelation of the Quran just with alif, lam, mim. Just with that. And so when alif, lam, mim is said, the other thing for us, for believers, because this didn't just have benefit for those who did not believe. But even alif, lam, mim has guidance for those who believe. We know by ijma' of the ulama, even though some have some opinions, that no one knows what alif, lam, mim means. It's wrong to say it doesn't mean anything. That's wrong to say because everything Allah says has meaning. Everything Allah says has purpose. But on the other hand, everything Allah gave us, we know is for our benefit. Allah doesn't speak, in the Quran, He doesn't speak unless it is something that will teach you and me something. He Himself says, عَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنِ عَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنِ. He didn't just say قَالَ الْقُرْآنِ. He said the Quran. تَكَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنِ. He spoke the Quran. No. عَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنِ. He taught the Quran. The thing about teaching as opposed to speaking, when someone's speaking, they're just running their mouth. But when someone is teaching, who do they have in mind? The student. So everything they teach is supposed to benefit who? The student. Which means with that formula, even when you read alif, lam, mim, It is supposed to have some kind of benefit for you. But then the question arises, I don't even know what it means. How is it supposed to benefit me? Because in order for me to benefit, I have to understand. And especially when you're sitting in a classroom and a teacher says something and you don't get it, that means you didn't benefit. So you have to raise your hand and say, what? I don't understand. Could you repeat that? Could you explain it to me? I need a better explanation. But no matter who you ask in the world, can somebody explain Alif Lam Mim? Could somebody tell me what it means? What's the tafsir of these letters? What's the mystery behind them? Nobody has a clear answer. And nobody has had a clear answer, and it seems pretty obvious. Nobody's going to have a clear answer until you come before Allah on Judgment Day and beyond. And Allah Azza wa Jalla allows us by His mercy to enter into His Jannah, and we get the opportunity to ask our teacher, Allah Azza wa Jalla, what is Alif Lam Mim? But even then there's benefit. The question, I'm building this question for you. What's the benefit then? The benefit is, you know what's called, for college students here, they know, it's called student orientation. You ever heard of student orientation? First day of class, the teacher comes into the classroom and says, listen, you have to have this attitude. You have to put this much hours in homework. You better not do this, and this. You better finish your assignments on time. The exams, you better start preparing for them 3 weeks in advance. He prepares you mentally for everything that's coming, yes? And if you're not properly mentally prepared for the course, and the best one to prepare you is the teacher himself, then you're not going to have the right attitude necessary to be able to succeed in learning. The first orientation for the student of the Quran is that they don't know anything. The first orientation for the student of the Quran is Alif Lam Mim. What does it mean? You don't know, and you better get used to that. Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Allah is the one who knows, you're the ones who don't know. Don't come to this book to try to put criticisms on it and impose upon Allah that unless I understand, I will not follow. Unless I am satisfied, my curiosity is satisfied, until then, I'm not convinced enough, I don't want to follow it. No. You're going to have to come to this book with humility.